You mentioned grit, and rewinding almost 30 years, I wasn't thinking about grit. Nobody was talking about grit, at least in my circles. But it was something that I inadvertently stumbled upon and found inside of myself because, as I mentioned, I was ready to quit. I was ready to throw in the towel. It was brutal. Minnesota from June 1st to mid-August is 90 degrees, 90% humidity.
Totally.
I'm driving around town in a hoopty, with no air conditioning. And so I remember pulling doors and walking into small businesses and the ladies that were working there feeling sorry for me because I'm coming and just soaking through my shirt. This wet behind his ears, Iowa boy, trying to do something, from a business standpoint. And
welcome to The Profitable Cleaner, a podcast on commercial cleaning sales and entrepreneurship.
Let's start here. I'll tell you what I know about you, which is very little, which is why I'm excited for today's conversation. And then help me expand and fill in the blanks. All right. So Nathan, father, girl dad, proud girl dad, husband, man of God, sales and entrepreneur professional. What did I miss?
A lot.
Okay.
But you hit the big levers there. Yeah, I identify as, a father. As you said, I've got two little girls, 8 and 9 years old, who are just amazing little beings. It's incredible to sit on the front row of a person's development, and just witness all of that and contribute to all of that. But husband, have a wonderful wife who has been in the trenches with me as we go through this journey, and advisor. I have spent my career in what I call the Rev Ops cycle, from sales, leading sales teams, supporting sales teams. Professionally, the last 12 to 14 years, I've really been in the trenches of transformational leadership. These last 12 to 15 years, I have, gravitated towards the challenges that my teams, our divisions, our companies are really struggling with. And I have a knack for building and fixing things. And that's really what I love to do professionally.
Nice.
But outside of work, if I can spend some time on the golf course, I'm a happy man. I don't get to spend much time on the golf course these days, but I still do. And, we moved from San Diego to Colorado about 11 years ago, and it was the mountains that pulled us here. And so we try to spend as much time as we can in the mountains, which doesn't seem like we get to spend enough time in the mountains these days. But those are some of the other things that...
Well, let's start here for a minute. How'd you venture in originally into advisory? Obviously you have a strong sales background. Talk to me about just the early dive into your career, and then we'll talk about to where it's led to now.
Sure. I was studying public relations at the University of Northern Iowa. Wasn't even thinking about sales. I went down the PR route in college because writing, speaking, grammar, all of that stuff was really easy to me in high school. And I thought, well, geez, that sounds like a great opportunity to study in college and maybe make the journey a little easier. Well, it was the spring of my junior year. So it would have been the summer between junior and senior year number one. I had attended our career fair at the University of Northern Iowa and stumbled upon a company called University Directories that was hiring salespeople for a 10-week summer internship selling Yellow Page advertising.
There you go.
And so I explored that. They brought me into the program, flew me down to North Carolina, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, spent a week there teaching all of us about sales, which was door-to-door cold calling in our markets, selling Yellow Page advertising. And that was my introduction to sales. And so spent the summer with the program. Wanted to quit because I was really struggling.
Totally.
6 weeks in, I wasn't, we were getting paid $250 draws,
Yeah.
which, rewind to 96, 97 time period. And it felt like a lot of money, but it really wasn't. And I was having these thoughts in the back of my mind, gosh, if I quit now, I could go work the final month of the summer at Winnebago, which is, RV manufacturing plant near my hometown in northern Iowa, and make a decent amount of money to go back to school with. But realized that I wasn't going to quit anything and just wanted to kind of pour into these last 4 or 5 weeks of the program, and ended up finishing first on my team in sales.
Nice.
Which got me invited back to the program the following year as an area sales manager.
Okay.
So I managed 4 universities in between Minnesota and Wisconsin. Finished that summer as the number 1 area sales manager, which got me invited to join the company full time as a regional sales manager.
Nice.
Once I finished school.
Yeah.
And so Yellow Page advertising is where I got started. It was very prescriptive, which I think sales is. One of the things that I love about sales is if you treat it as equal parts art and science, you can study it
Agree.
and lean into those different areas that drive performance. And, for us, it was as salespeople and sales leaders, it was, the number of doors you needed to pull, the number of decision makers you needed to meet, the number of presentations you needed to get in order to make one sale. So almost 30 years later, it's 20, 12, 3, 1. Those numbers are just etched into long-term memory.
Absolutely.
And so that's really what got me started in it. And I spent a couple more years leading the Southeast for this company before leaving to join a company called City Search, if you remember them back in the day, one of the original Yelps, if you will. And was brought over to that company to help turn the Raleigh-Durham Chapel Hill market around from a sales performance, and did that for a few years before packing up my bags and moving from the East Coast to the West Coast of California, headed out to San Diego.
I love those sales stories that start with literally just the grit of sales, cold calling, door knocking. Almost every great salesperson I know, it doesn't matter if they're enterprise sales now and network sales, they all almost have this background of going door to door, getting their teeth kicked in, cold calling. Talk to me about what you learned from that first summer of Yellow Page ads.
Oh boy. And a couple of things stand out. You mentioned grit, and I, rewinding almost 30 years, I wasn't thinking about grit. Nobody was talking about grit, at least in my circles. But it was something that I inadvertently stumbled upon and found inside of myself because, as I mentioned, I was ready to quit. I was ready to throw in the towel. It was brutal. Minnesota from June 1st to mid-August is 90 degrees, 90% humidity.
Totally.
I'm driving around town in a hoopty, with no air conditioning. And so I remember pulling doors and walking into small businesses, and the ladies that were working there feeling sorry for me because I'm coming and just soaking through my shirt. This wet behind his ears, Iowa boy, trying to do something, from a business standpoint. And everything told me to get out. I mean, I remember sitting in, I think it's the St. Paul's Cathedral in St. Paul, Minneapolis, praying about how miserable I was and asking for the relief, to be able to find it. So grit was really, top of mind. But the second thing that comes up is really the prescription of selling.
Yeah, I love that.
And what I mean by that is we all sell different things, right? It could be a product, it could be a widget, it could be a service. And all of those, can be done cold calling over the phone, cold calling door to door, and everything in between. But you really have to refine that prescription to figure out really what the mechanics of it are. And so what turned for me, I was out there trying to sell these little ad spaces in the yellow pages to plumbing and electricians and pizza places and bars and different restaurants that I thought were going to connect with the college student who their target, that was the target market.
Yeah.
But the light bulb went on when I coincidentally encountered a recruiter who I met on campus of the University of Minnesota that summer, and was just talking about what they do and what we do, and then realized that we had a new recruiting section of the yellow pages where these companies could put their
job
quarter,
postings,
half, full page ads in the yellow pages to recruit students from. And so I gravitated towards that selling motion of just focusing on those corporations, and instantly my sales took off.
Really?
So it's just a matter of refining. I wasn't selling anything different. It was how I was selling and who I was selling to that made all of the difference. And then coming to the realization that that mattered and I needed to figure that out was what helped propel me into, the success that I eventually came to realize as that summer wrapped up.
I love that, man. So talk to me about, you talked about transformational leadership. I think leadership and sales often go hand in hand. I think a lot of companies they'll double down on sales training and miss leadership training.
Yeah.
Talk to me about, or I guess, do you think those go hand in hand? And if so, why?
I think they're part of the same conversation. One of the things that I also see as I kind of look at that scenario is, when I look at sales training, because I've spent a lot of time in the sales enablement space as well.
Sure. Yeah.
And what I always heard and still hear from my sales teams that I'm supporting is, I love the fact that you're a sales guy.
Yep.
Right? I identify as a sales guy today.
Yep.
I was introduced myself last week. At the end of the day, I'm a sales guy.
Yep.
Right? And so when I'm supporting, enabling, training, it matters to the audience that I'm not just this theoretical sales trainer.
Yes.
This is a guy who's been in the trenches, using your words, had my teeth kicked in more times than I can count, and have the stories, the experience, and the perspective that I can relay into it. And so it's part of what led me down my journey of transformational leadership. And how that happened, when I left North Carolina, I left advertising behind. I was really good at it, but when I started a new chapter in San Diego, I was interested in trying something different. And so I was looking at all sorts of different industries and selling different, from different services, from, payment processing services to waste management services. Yeah. And then I was in Tijuana, walking around downtown Tijuana when I got a call from a recruiter who wanted to talk to me about a role selling telecommunication services for a company called Empower Communications. When I say I knew nothing about telecommunications, what I mean is when the phone rang, I picked it up and somebody was there. Didn't know how that happened. When I wanted to get online, I would hop on my computer and I was somehow online searching. That was the extent of my experience. But what this company realized is that I had the intangibles. I knew how to go out there and pull doors, have conversations, ask the right questions, spot opportunities, right? And so I did that for another 7 years in the telco space before I left my company, started a couple of divisions of managed security services at 2 other firms, and then 6 years later came back to the company that originally hired me in a role that they were creating. And it was my first non-selling role. They were doing a good job selling, a bad job retaining customers. Yep. And so they needed somebody to help build a customer retention program and department. And I had a strong enough relationship with some key individuals at that company where they said, you know what, let's bring you in because you understand the selling motion. Maybe you can help us close the back door by building this customer retention part.
Totally.
And so we had a successful run over the next 2 to 3 years of building retention programs to drive their churn down, which put me in a position with the then CEO of this company as one of the guys he would call on to solve problems. And so the first problem he recognized was the sales teams inability to close large enterprise deals. And I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. He said, Nate, this is what I'm seeing. Is this something you think you could help us fix? I was like, Dick, I don't know, but let me think about it and let me come back to you. And so I came back to him with a plan to build this enterprise sales division, which at the end of the day was all about making sure our salespeople had the right support at the right time to put them in the best position to win more of these large deals.
Absolutely.
And the results just went through the roof, which then, brought me into more conversations. Nate, our deal desk team is in shambles, right? It's the lowest performing group in the business, one of the most important because all of our sales channels depend on this organization, but they're not operating very well. Can you help us fix it? Well, if you're looking for a finance guy, I'm not your guy. But if you're looking for somebody who will lean into the people, the processes, then I think I have something that can help us out. And that was the birth of what became my three P's principle,
Let's talk about that.
Which is people plus process equals performance. Right? As leaders, we oftentimes are so focused on the performance of what we're working on, we're blind to everything that's in the peripheral, right? Performance, in my mind, is an outcome of getting the right people on the bus, doing enough of the right things. And if you can get those two components dialed in, the performance aspect is going to take care of itself, and you'll see the upward trajectory to the right.
I love that you just said that, man. I don't find it ironic either. A few months ago, we interviewed one of the best sales guys I know, Brian Reimer, and he sells at a very software IT security at a very high level, enterprise level. And his sales cycle on the short end is 36 months. And he basically, if I ask him, how's business? He always goes, he'll pause and he'll say, I'm doing the right things.
Awesome.
And I think that just goes to your point. You have the right people, right processes, you're going to get the right performance.
What's up, my profitable cleaners? Listen, you guys know that running a cleaning business isn't just about cleaning. It's about growth, trust, building a legacy, and making true impact. That's where Swept comes in. With Swept, it's simple, powerful. It's an app that you can track your cleaner attendance with geofence clock-ins, streamlined processes, team communication, and save hours on payroll. It's the ultimate tool designed specifically for janitorial businesses just like yours. Take control, save time, focus on what matters most, growing your business and spending time with your family. Swept. Clean better, grow faster. If you guys are interested in Swept, click the link below in the show notes and partner with one of the best in the industry.
Did you ever end up writing a book?
I have a book that is 3/4 baked out.
Okay.
It's fascinating. I've got a lot of experience and perspective in each of these three buckets, but what I'm finding is the performance part of the book, which is part 3.
Yeah.
It's been, for some reason, the hardest part for me to complete, right? And I think it's in part because I'm constantly revising the people. I'm constantly revising the process. And, it's pulling me away from completing the performance side of the book. But no, it's still on the proverbial shelf waiting to be finished.
Well, the moment you do, I can guarantee that myself, and I know some listening will definitely love to check it out and buy it. I remember us sitting in Tony and Carla's backyard, and you kind of going through just like your philosophy of like sales and business. Obviously, I had only known you from, our circle of people as a father and a dad, a husband and a dad,
right,
which I respected. But then I was like, man, there's a lot of substance here. Talk to me about what's the biggest gap you see when it comes to companies leading sales teams?
The first thing that comes to mind is how hard it is to get the right people. Right. And I've had a lot of conversations with folks over the last couple of weeks about this because it's something, what appears like everybody is struggling with to some degree, right? If you've got your top performers, wonderful. Those folks are self-operating. You don't need to spend a lot of time there. You got your bottom performers, which, that takes care of itself. It's oftentimes difficult conversations. But in the sales world, everything we do is prescriptive. Are you doing the right things? Are you doing enough of it? If not, can we modify that? If we do, great. We'll see those bottom performers come, surface up into the middle more comfortably. If not, then we have tough decisions, and it's best for all of us to go our separate ways. But that massive middle, which is probably 70 to 80% of our sales teams, is an area where all of our energy as sales leaders go. Right? Because we're coaching, we're leading, we're supporting, we're doing all of those things. And in order to make sure when we have roles to fill, in my opinion, it's getting harder and harder to find the right people. Who do you want to recruit into those roles? Top performers elsewhere. Well, those folks are generally really hard to pull away for a lot of reasons. There's a lot of salespeople out there looking for jobs. Which I know there are audiences that have been impacted by rifts and all sorts of changes inside of organization. So there's a wonderful talent pool out there. But at the end of the day, salespeople are salespeople for a lot of reasons, one of which I think is because they're influential.
Bingo.
Right? Yep. They're good communicators. They can convince you of certain things. Some of these people are just really good interviewers. Some of these people, really are passionate about the trade. But in some of my recent roles, I've come to realize that hunger is a real defining trait in somebody that I want to bring in, right? I think of an example where I was at one of my previous roles where I was brought in to build a sales organization and, execute on a 3X, 5X plan, which we were in the process of doing. And, one of my first hires on paper was everything that I was looking for, right? Pulling this person from a competitor, very successful selling this niche service that we sell, and locally here to Denver. All of the right components, right? Only to find out from a performance standpoint, the performance wasn't there. And as I kind of managed that and self-reflected on that, I'm thinking to myself, here's a person who is later stage in life, and how hungry are we, as we get closer to retirement? And for some of us, living on a $150,000 salary, which, listen, that is a wonderful amount of money.
Sure.
And for most people, that is everything that they possibly need. But when I'm hiring salespeople, I want a lower base and I want a uncapped high possibility commission plan that fuels the hunger that this guy or girl has to do some really special things.
I think you're right, man. I will say, I've seen sales teams where they're mismanaged most is the bottom tier of salespeople. I always say will weave themselves out. They'll weave themselves out, but it's so funny because sales management teams focus so much on them, and I get it to a point, but they ultimately will weave themselves out. My thought is always that person that's hovering right on top of that middle tier. Our effort and focus should be on them because can we get them to the top performer level? I'm curious, man. So we talked about some gaps and mismanagement of sales teams. What's a commonality amongst winning sales organizations you've seen?
They're professionals at their trade.
Okay,
right? I've talked to you a little bit about kind of the prescription of selling. They have dialed in their selling motions. They know exactly who their target market is. They know exactly who their stakeholders are. They know exactly what their general communication pillars are. But then they take it a step further where, as a sales organization, you've got a sales story, right? And that's a sales story for everybody to hear.
Sure.
But now if I'm selling to the finance leader, the tech leader, the ops leader, the procurement leader, which those are the folks in my current, stakeholder group. The message is different for every single one of them. And so top performers that I've worked with, I've supported, they understand that the message has to change between these groups. But even further, a CFO versus a VP of finance versus a director of finance, their roles are significantly different inside of that one silo of finance. And so for my experiences, the top people understand all of that. They manage their practice, they manage their sales motions to the nuances of all of that. And they're really good at listening.
Yeah.
They're listening for these dots that help connect the story through the chain.
I think you make a good point, and I think that's often overlooked is the different stakeholders. There's a different message and story to each individual. And there's a lot of copy-paste messaging out there.
There's a ton of copy-paste messaging.
Well, a lot of that has to do with something I want to talk about right now.
All right, I know you guys are wondering, how can we keep our cleaning crews engaged and informed and it doesn't have to feel like a struggle? With Team Engine, you can now automate messages, update teams in real time, and bridge language gaps with their built-in AI-powered translations. Whether it's scheduling, last-minute changes, or sharing critical updates, Team Engine keeps your workforce connected and productive. Say goodbye to miscommunication and hello to smoother operations. Visit teamengine.io to get started today.
I really respect you in the sense of you've been big on incorporating artificial intelligence into just your workflow. I'm sure that impacts your sales. Talk to me about the game of AI and sales and what your just current state and thoughts are on it.
Yeah, I've got a lot of thoughts here. I was intrigued by ChatGPT 3.5, 4 years ago when it first surfaced, and started leaning in then, and took my first masterclass with GPT probably 3 years ago, maybe 2.5, 3 years ago. And so I have seen it as a tool that is changing the game for a long time.
Totally.
And my hope to anybody listening to this is, one of a couple of things. One, if you're using it, kudos to you. Keep using it. Not only use it in the areas that you're using it today, but start expanding the uses. Maybe take it from work and bring it home, right?
Yep.
If you're look, I'll be the first to say I don't know anything about parenting two little girls. Right? I'm learning as we go. But how can I leverage some of these tools to learn things professionally and personally that can help, raise my tide, as an individual? And so where do we use AI today? We use it across all aspects of the sales, marketing, and operations, functionality. We leverage various tools. In my own stack, it's Perplexity, it's GPT, Notebook LM. I've recently gone down the rabbit hole of vibe coding, which is really exciting technology and capability. But what do we use it for? All of the basic things, right? Emailing, messaging, sales motion, ton of research, right? And one of the things that I love about Perplexity is, the fact that it was built on this sourced information platform, right? And so the information that you can get out of a Perplexity is backed by sourced information versus pulling from the wild, wild west of the internet and whatever is out there.
Yeah. Reddit threads.
Reddit threads, but I use it for optimization. If I can leverage the tools to do something in 30 seconds versus what would have taken me 10 minutes, it's a huge win. I try to automate everything that I do. So I can focus on more of the bigger picture, strategic thinking initiatives.
Totally.
And so, going back to, using it, if you're using it today, keep using it and use it more broadly. If you're not using it today, it's okay. Start using it. Start using it quickly. And if you're hesitant or resistant on using it, try to work through that, because this thing isn't going anywhere.
Nope.
The cat is out of the bag and there's no putting it back in.
Yep.
And so it is going to impact all of our professional lives. We'll start to see it show up at home more.
Totally.
Agentic AI is an amazing functionality. Yes, we're on the early cusp of what its capabilities are, but what it's already doing for us is...
Did you say Magentic AI?
Agentic.
Agentic.
Yep.
Okay.
Agentic AI.
What is that?
And so What we have today are our bots.
Okay.
That is our standard GPT practices.
Sure.
Those are as effective as the information that we give it, the prompts that we steer along with. Agentic AI takes it a step further, where it starts to build on top of that in its own understanding of
Gotcha.
the components, the initial prompt, and what you're ultimately trying to do.
Yeah.
And so it's that next step in.
I love it, man. When ChatGPT first released, I remember I was one of the first million users.
Nice.
Right. And because they hit 1 million people, the fastest than any software had ever hit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it took them like 4 or 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
I remember the first prompt I ever gave it was like how to frame a basement. I just know the steps on how to frame a basement, right?
Yeah.
And it was like verbatim. And I was like blown away.
Wow.
Just such a random question, right? Yeah. And then I was like, who is Angel Sandoval, my former business partner? It's like, we can't give you that. And what I've seen, I think there's good and bad with everything.
Sure.
I think the good of AI, I agree, man, it's not going anywhere. And I don't view it as a threat, more so as a tool. And I think that's how everyone should be viewing it. I mean, back in the day, the internet wasn't a thing.
Right.
And there was people that thought the internet would not be anything.
Right.
Yellow Pages, I mean, they adapted a little bit, but I remember thinking like, there was once upon a time where people didn't think businesses would be online.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's online. Mm-hmm. It's like not even a second thought now.
Right.
So how can you use it as a tool? But what I'm seeing now with sales professionals, and this is where I think we need to caution, we cannot lose the human element of sales. And you can't just put a LinkedIn post into ChatGPT or, Grok and copy paste it. Like you should be putting your thoughts and your philosophy into those prompts in your language almost.
Yeah.
And make it yours. And then I don't have to spend 35 minutes writing a LinkedIn post anymore.
No.
That is nice. Because I remember 8 a.m. every morning, need to write a LinkedIn post. It would sometimes take me till 9 a.m., and there'd still be a typo in it, So I do think there's good things, but I can almost spot now on LinkedIn with salespeople with the mass emojis.
So easy to do.
So easy. So I do encourage people to proceed with caution.
What's up, Profitable Cleaner listeners? Quick question for you. Are you using 5 to 7 different platforms just to manage the everyday operations of your commercial cleaning company? If so, let us help you consolidate that into one platform. Introducing you, USource. Go to usource.com, book your free demo today, and actually get started on your trial for 60 days. No charge for 60 days, all from time and attendance to reporting, vendor management, operations, sales. It's time you stop using 5 to 7 platforms and consolidate into one. So listeners, don't forget, go to usource.com and start your account today.
You and I had a conversation a few weeks ago just about how shitty the RFP process can be. I know a lot of people listening right now, facilities professionals, they go through huge RFP bidding processes as the seller. Talk to me about your thoughts on RFPs. Let's just start there, man.
Wow. I've spent the last 13 years operating in this RFP enterprise sales space. Yeah. And I think anybody listening would agree it is a nightmare to work through the RFP process. A lot of people I talk to today refuse to do anything with RFPs.
Yep.
Why is that? Well, too much effort, too much time. It's all wasted. There's no return on investment. We get no results. So we put a ton of energy and effort in. We get nothing out on the back end. Yep, you're absolutely right. I would run away from that as well. In fact, that was a problem we solved at one of my previous companies. Now, that's as a salesperson. On the other side of it, there are plenty of businesses out there that have to go to RFP, right? For internal processes. Maybe they're inside the government sector and it's just, that is corporate protocol. And the pain is equally difficult for them to endure, because you got to put a ton of time and energy into mapping out your requirements and getting the RFP to a position where you can publish it, and then you got to get the thing sourced, right? Which is a whole other
Where do
effort.
I post it?
Where do I post it? How do I get people to respond to it? Do I get the right people to respond to it? And you know what's wild? I think it's 20 to 35% of all RFPs don't even make it to publication.
Really?
Because the effort is lost internally. Talk about wasted spend, you know, from an energy and monetary perspective. And so I, along with 2 other guys, are working on a tool that is designed to solve the pain on both ends, plus the massive middle, which is really the area where buyer is matched with seller.
Yep.
Right. And that, I think, is a very exciting opportunity for me and my team to work on, because there is a lot of pain being felt by each side of that equation that we believe we have the right tool to solve.
Absolutely. I'll tell you, like, from my perspective, like, RFPs are just very bland and confusing. Actually, ChatGPT has helped that a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just uploading that RFP and just like giving me the bullet points to almost qualify it to see if that's something we want to even pursue. Because from a seller's perspective, it does take time to follow their process that they put forward.
Yeah.
And it could be all for nothing.
Right.
So I think having a tool that, you know, helps quantify what you're looking at and like speed up the gap and just make it simple for whether you're the publisher or the seller is awesome. I don't want to let the toothpaste out of the tube here, but any update on when it could be ready? We
are anticipating our first beta users on both sides of the equation here in the next 2 to 3 weeks.
Nice.
Yeah, we have everything built. We are working through some of the finer technical connection points, which once we have that behind us, we are interested in connecting with people who would like to be beta users, whether you're creating an RFP or responding to an RFP. We're looking for both of those.
I think that's exciting, man. Well, when that is ready for MVP or launch, let us know, because I can guarantee you, at least 80% of the people listening to the show right now, they're nodding their heads when everything you just said about the RFP process. And some of the biggest janitorial and facility services contracts, they all have to go RFP. There's no way around it.
No.
If you are looking at a $3 million plus $3 to $50 million contract, it's in the RFP phase.
Yep.
And those are what all the companies want.
That's right.
Right. So it's like, you have to know the RFP game.
Right.
And if there's a way to make it less atrocious.
Well, and there are certain nuances too, right? You know, my experience and perspective is my own over 13 years. But oftentimes when an RFP goes out, the publisher has somebody in mind.
Absolutely.
Right.
They do.
So we're just checking this box. We got to get our 3 to 5, but hey, James, you know, you and I both know that you're going to win this, right? So there's that dynamic. There's also this dynamic of respondents, right? We get our 3 to 5 responses, but are they the right ones? Right. And that is in my opinion, that's a blind spot, because especially in today's day and age, if you're going out for janitorial services, you probably know 3 to 5 of the right players.
Totally.
But do you know the emerging? Do you know the niche? Do you know the others who, based on their current capabilities, their current deliverables, may be a better match for what your RFP is
1,000%.
trying to solve for? And that group is generally the group that is not even being considered because the publishers aren't aware of them.
So well said, man. So I'll give you a live example. University of Colorado has it's a $5 million janitorial contract, big contract. And their last RFP process had 26 people respond, which for that type of contract, you would think more would respond. 25 of them were unqualified.
Wow.
25. Since that contract is closed and was given to the current company, I know some of the biggest players in the game said, man, I didn't even know that was at the RFP phase, or we would have came in and bid on it. And I know, just because I know that campus and I know these companies, there would have been a great match.
Right.
Versus I feel like, the facilities might have settled just because they had 99% of unqualified candidates.
Right.
So the middle of the road, and I'm not trying to knock that company, but there was probably better set up companies out there.
They made the best decision based on the
1,000
information they had.
1,000%.
Right.
But if you
And
had better information.
That's right. That's right. And if you had better visibility into what that universe looks like, you might be able to make better, longer lasting, positive decisions. Because here's the other part of the problem that shows up is we go to all this work to get our 26. Now to down select from 26 to the top 2 or 3, goodness, that's an effort, right? Now, based on the 2 to 3 that we down selected, we're making a decision based on what we believe to be best for us.
Absolutely.
And those decisions, unfortunately, don't always play out positively, right? We'll sign with a vendor because they answered an RFP very well, they interviewed very well, and they convinced us that they were right, but the implementation falls apart.
100%.
The ongoing management of that is a train wreck. That universe of RFP experience is all being addressed with
Love it, man.
what we're building.
Love it, man. I
Really
can't
cool.
wait to see it. I know the people listening too, they'll be excited to see it as well. Well, man, I could talk shop with you all day. I feel like I got to know a lot of Nate, the professional, and not the person as much. We'll have to do a part 2. But for those of people listening, you're very active on LinkedIn. I actually really, really appreciate the content you put out. Where can people find you, man?
Yeah, 2 areas. LinkedIn is going to be the first place, Nathan Pavelka.
And we'll link it below.
All right, perfect. And then I do have a personal website, nathanpavelka.com.
Awesome.
But I am leading our efforts here in Denver for CBRE's Network Advisory Services team, which is a specialized group leaning into the technology and telecommunications space. So whether it's through LinkedIn, my personal website, or through CBRE's page, easy to find.
Awesome, man. And we'll link all of that below. And man, I look forward to seeing what's to come for you, man. So thank you for your time today, brother.
I love it. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Awesome.